YouTube? Crash Wilcox, bringing you guys another PC build. This is kind of a Black Friday build. It's just a little bit late. Had a little bit of trouble actually getting the time to put this thing together for you. So I apologize for that, but I did want to get it put out there so you guys can kind of see how I built this computer. So as you saw in the title, it's a $1,500 Ryzen 9 build. This one is going to be for me. I'm upgrading my own personal computer, so I'm not going to be selling this one. So I just want to kind of walk you through what I was thinking when I put this together and how I came to that $1,500 ish price range. So starting out here, you can see we got the Cooler Master Case H500. This is the case we went with. In a lot of these, it was put together based on deals, not necessarily anything that I was super into. This isn't built for looks, it's just built for hopefully decent performance. So this is what we went with, got it on Newegg. Everything was bought on Black Friday as well. So $100 was the price on Newegg. So this is what we got here. The motherboard that we went with, got the X570 Steel Legend Wi-Fi motherboard. This isn't an ultra premium motherboard, but it is a pretty good motherboard for the price. I've used it in a build previously, not the Wi-Fi version, but it works really well. And I think for the computer that we're putting together, it's going to have everything we need. And the price was pretty good, which is obviously one of the main reasons why we went with it. Like I said, we're trying to build this in a budget, so this is what we decided to go with. And that is going to pair, hopefully very well, with, as the title suggested, our Ryzen 9 3900X. If you guys were tracking on Black Friday, a lot of the really good deals, I think, were in the Ryzen 7 lineup. The 2700, 37, 3800Xs were all priced really well. I think you get the 2700X for like, it was like 150 bucks or something on Black Friday, which is crazy. I hope some of you guys picked that up. But there were no deals on this, but selfishly, this is what I wanted. So deals be damned, I dove in and this is what we got here. And then, well, we'll go with the my least exciting part of the entire build, the power supply. You can crush me in the comments, but I was not super pumped to get this, but it had a good deal, and on paper it has what I need. Now, 1,050 watts is overkill for sure. Never going to need that or anything close to it, but it is fully modular. It's an 80 plus gold power supply, and for those of you that don't know, Roseville, I think essentially started out as Newegg's house brand. I think since they've branched off into kind of their own company, but that's where they started at, so you can kind of think of them as Newegg's house brand. It's got mixed reviews online. The lifespan does not seem to be the best, but I've used the Roseville power supply in the past and had no issues with it. So I went ahead and got this, and if it sucks, I'll let you guys know it sucks, and I will replace it. But this was $90 on Newegg. Sorry, this was, like I said, the CPU, no deals, $500 on Amazon, but that's what we went with. For the RAM, and these are empty because I'm having to reshoot this video, but I've already built the computer. So for the RAM, we went with 4 sticks of 8 gigabytes for a total of 32 gigs of 3600 megahertz CL16 RAM. G-Skill rip jaws. Nothing fancy, it's not RGB, it's just what I'm hoping for is nice performing RAM. And from everything I've gathered, the Ryzen 3000 series works pretty well with 3600 megahertz RAM, so that's kind of the reason that I went with that as opposed to something different. And also the price, like we said, we're on a budget here, so got 32 gigs for $140, so that was a pretty good value. For the storage, for my game drive, I've used this in every build I think that I've done, so no surprise I would use it here as well. The Intel 660p, 1 terabyte NVMe storage. It's a good drive, and it's always a good value for the money, but on Black Friday, I think it was $82, so a good value got even better, so I obviously didn't want to pass that up, so went with this for the game drive. Should work pretty well for the OS drive. Kind of spoiled myself here as well. Since we do have an X570 motherboard, I want to take advantage of that Gen 4 PCIe. So went with the Sabrent Rocket Gen 4 drive, 1 terabyte. Again, kind of like the CPU, no real deal here, but just wanted to make sure that my computer is running as quickly and performing as well as it can in those day-to-day operations. So went ahead and jumped in on this. I think I got it for $168 on Amazon. And then for the graphics card, we went with the MSI RX 5700 XT Gaming X. When you're getting into graphics cards, from everything I gather, really a 5700 XT is a 5700 XT is a 5700 XT. As far as performance, frames per second, all that sort of stuff, you're not really going to see a big difference from one card to the next. Whether it's a low-end card or a high-end, really what you're paying for is things like thermals, noise, design. Those are all going to, kind of increase the pricing. But as far as frames per second and stuff like that, you're not really going to see a big difference. So this was, I would say, more of a middle upper class 5700 XT. Got it for $450 on Newegg. But that was kind of the main reason why I went with it. Pricing is a pretty good card performance-wise as well. So we're not going to be using the included Wraith Prism cooler with the Ryzen 9. Instead, we are going to go with the Cooler Master Hyper 212. This is the RGB Black Edition. And the reason we decided to go with this is the Wraith Prism can kind of be loud. It's not necessarily the best cooler on the planet, but I'm hoping to get maybe just a little bit better cooling performance with this, and also a little bit quieter. And then also it goes with the Cooler Master case. So this was going for $40 on Newegg. So if you did all the math, that kind of comes out to $1,760. So not really that $1,500 price range. So the way we got that price down was, again, shopping on Black Friday. So the Cooler Master Hyper 212 was $10 off. And some of these were promo codes, some of them were mail-in rebates, I'm not sure which, but it was $10 off, so that brought that price down to $30 instead of $40. We already talked about the Intel 660p was $82. That's normally it's around $100 for that hard drive. And then the power supply, the Rosewell Photon, was $20 off. So that brought that price from $90 down to $70. The graphics card, the 5700 XT, was $45 off. So that brought that price down to about $405. The Steel Legend was $30 off, so that brought that price from $190 down to $160. And then the last one was a Cooler Master, the case, H500, was $20 off, so that brought that price from $100 down to $80. And then the last thing that I used to bring that price down, I do have an Amazon credit card, so I had $70 worth of Prime rewards. So I added that to the discounts there that I used, and that brought everything down to $1,565. So again, this isn't going to be the prettiest computer, but I think it's going to perform well, especially for the price that we paid for it. So I'm going to go through the unboxings next, and then we're going to build the computer like we always do. And then lastly, I'll include some benchmarks, both game and just, Cinebench and those type of things, so you guys can see how the computer performs if you're thinking about building one yourself. Alright, so let's jump into that unboxing. Alright, so we're about to get into this unboxing here. One last thing I forgot to mention, if you are building a computer for yourself, probably the most vital piece of equipment or thing that you can bring to the build with you is a cup of coffee. So don't forget that. It's essential. All right, so let's get into this case. And I'm not talking about some caramel macchiato. I'm talking about just straight up stain your teeth black coffee. Man's coffee. You think John Wayne would have drank a caramel macchiato? I don't think so. The Cooler Master H500. So there she is. You guys have seen this thing before. It's got two 200mm fans in the front. I believe it comes with a fan in the back. There's that. We're not going to open this up just yet. We'll get into that once we actually start building in here. But got a couple of USB 3.0, USB 2.0, power, reset, all that sort of stuff. Pretty nice looking mid-sized case here. Sweet, so now we're going to go ahead and, like any build, kind of get started with the motherboard, CPU install, and that sort of stuff. So let's get into that motherboard. Alright, so let's get into this. As I said, we got the ASRock X570 Steel Legend Wi-Fi motherboard. Perfect for any of your AMD 3000 series processors, which we are using. Oh, here's the back for you guys. But we'll go over this more. And I'm not going to get into like all my builds. I'm not the most technical expert on these. If you want to get a more technical breakdown, go check out, Hardware Unboxed. Does a good breakdown of the ASRock Steel Legend, as well as other X570 motherboards. Most of your favorite YouTubers probably do a good breakdown of some of these boards, but there's the back. Oh, and here we'll do a quick little peel, see if we can get this off. If it's not done in one piece, are you even really doing it? There it is. Got some down here. And then this has a built-in I/O shield, which is a nice touch. So got it off. Yep, integrated I/O shield is pretty nice. one of the reasons that I went with this board, outside of obviously keeping the price range low, but there's other boards in this price range. The Asus Tough motherboard is pretty good, but since I am using two M.2s, this one does come with heat sinks for both of those built into the board, so that's kind of a nice touch. Not every board in this price range comes with two heat sinks for the M.2s, so like that touch, got your Wi-Fi. So we can go ahead and get the CPU installed now. But before we get it installed, we'll just do a quick unboxing here. So the Ryzen 9 3900X, 12 cores, 24 threads. I believe it has a boost speed up to 4.6 gigahertz, unlocked, so you can overclock it. Just an all-around awesome CPU. Awesome packaging. Now, there it is. And then I'm not going to open this all up, but inside they do have the Wraith Prism cooler. There it is. We're not going to use it, so I'm just going to leave it in the box. And again, your instructions, make sure you follow that if you've never put together a computer before. This is not the piece that you want to go ahead and just wing it on. Make sure you're following those instructions. And then, like always, with every AM4 socket, every Ryzen CPU, you're going to be doing the same thing, lining up your triangle with the triangle on the board. Typically, it's always going to be, depending on the way that you're facing the board, if you're looking at it, you know, straight up and down, it's typically always going to be in the upper left corner. So, and don't push down on it, just sort of rock it in there till it drops in. And then just lower your lever back down. And that's it, she's secured in there. So, I know I've kind of walked through a lot of PC builds, and most of them, and I'll just kind of touch on this before we get deep into the build, are Ryzen builds, AMD builds, and I'm not particularly bent on AMD versus Intel. I just think in the current market and the products that are being produced, I think AMD just makes more sense for more people. You know, especially with a lot of the 9th generation Intel stuff not being hyper-threaded. It's not always the end of the world, but you know, when you're talking about a Ryzen 7, you know, 3700X CPU that is going to be 8 cores, 16 threads, running at around, I don't know, roughly it's like 4.5 gigahertz, you know, for $300, or you're talking about an i7 9700K, that's going to be 8 cores, 8 threads, no hyper-threading, that's going to be, you know, around $330 to $350. Yeah, you can get it up to 5 gigahertz, and for gaming, it's going to make a difference, but I just don't think that the value is there currently with the Intel products. And then also, you know, this CPU, as I mentioned, comes with a good Wraith Prism cooler included, you know, whereas an i7 or an i9, they're not going to come with those coolers. And in order to get it up to those clock speeds that you're looking for with the 5 gigahertz, you're going to be investing a decent chunk of change into a cooler. So now your prices, they're just, I don't feel that it's competitive for the normal person that's looking to build a computer on a budget. You know, you have a price window that you can be in. Currently, AMD, in my opinion, just makes more sense. So that's the reason why I'm going with it. I want to support innovation. You know, I think AMD is sort of pushing the envelope right now, and I just want to be a supporter of that. That's kind of the reason as well. Same reason why I think, you know, you should spend money on products that you like. Don't always just find, you know, what's the cheapest or what's the coolest. Like, if you're into something, you know, support it with your money. That's the only way that competition is going to grow. So, Ryzen 9. And then, as always, getting back to the build, we're going to be using the Noctua NTH1 thermal paste. Again, I've used this on most of my builds. It's just great thermal paste. Alright, so before we get to throwing this thermal paste and everything on the board, I'm going to go ahead and get this CPU cooler opened up. So like I mentioned, the Cooler Master Hyper 212, a really good CPU or a CPU cooler for the money. You know, it's not high end, but I'm not going to be overclocking. I just completely destroyed this box. That's cool. I'm not going to be, you know, trying to overclock this CPU or really push it too far. So I just wanted a little extra cooling, and the fact that it's Cooler Master, my case is Cooler Master. I thought that was a nice touch. So here you go, all your connectors, AM4, Intel, and then I do believe we're not going to be using it, but it does come with its own little tube of thermal paste in there, thermal compound, which is pretty nice. You got your bracket. And then there it is, just a really good looking cooler. And again, this build was not put together for its looks, but it is always nice when you can save some money on something and still get a really good looking product. So we'll peel that off here in a minute, and you could always, if you had extra fans or if you wanted to pick one up, I'm sure you could probably easily install another fan on the back for a push-pull. Again, I don't think it's going to be necessary, but actually let me open this up just to kind of give you guys a little comparison with the Wraith Prism as opposed to the Hyper 212. Sorry, I kind of got a mess going here, but so there you go. And then looking down at the bottom here, just thickness, so not a bad cooler. I did just some dust on that, but no big deal. I'm not using it anyways, and if I was going to use it, I would replace the thermal paste with my Noctua NTH1. Get your instructions out. Never install the Hyper 212. So pretty nice instruction booklet. You don't always get instructions that are this easy to work through. Labeled up at the top there what you're going to be doing, so just look for the AM4. So let's get this stuff out of the way. starting with our Intel 660p for the game drive. Now we'll go ahead and get the OS drive installed. This is our Gen 4. One terabyte. Some pretty nice packaging, much better than that Intel, but I guess you get what you pay for, right? It's a nice little metal case. Oh shoot, about to unlock the speed, because they say so. That's actually quite nice. It actually has what looks to be almost like kind of its own little small heat spreader on there, I guess. Not much to write home about, but it's something. Alright, so here we got it, the Corsair, or I'm sorry, the Cooler Master H500. Not sure if you can see in here, but this is the two 200 millimeter RGB fans. And this motherboard is labeled nice, and I've seen this in a lot of cases, so I don't know if it's just universal, but it'll give you a little diagram right here. It'll say ATX. You go to all the locations that are marked with an A. For a micro ATX, all locations that are marked with an M. And then for a mini ITX, I. So some of these you'll see that this says AMI. So obviously you're going to do that for a mini ATX, also for a micro and a regular ATX. But since we have a regular ATX motherboard, we're going to be going to all the locations with the A marked on it. All right, so now we're gonna open up the, as I mentioned before, the least exciting part of this build. The part that I'm most skeptical about, but we are going to give it a try. As I've mentioned, I have used a Rosewell power supply before. Didn't have any issues with it, but I have read mixed reviews on this product. So Alright, so we got the power supply connected. I'm going to go ahead and just get the cables all hooked up. I'm not going to record that. I'll point it out once I'm done, but I don't want my head all in the way of the camera. So I'm going to go ahead and get these cables hooked up, and then I'll jump back in here. Alright, so before I got the cables all put away, or all done up, the last thing we got to do is get our graphics card opened up and get this installed. So as I said, MSI RX 5700 XT Gaming X, kind of the reason I went for this. I play on 1440p monitors, that's what I have, and this is a very good card, sort of comparable, kind of around that 2070 to 2080, somewhere in that range depending on what titles you're using. So all that for right around $400 is a very good value for the money. So let's just get this open. And not to mention, it looks nice. And really when it comes down to, and I'm sure if you guys are watching this, you've probably watched benchmark videos, but if not, I mean really, when it comes down to a card, you know, 5700 XT is a 5700 XT. They're all going to be within a few frames of each other, a really negligible difference. So really you're kind of looking into just the look of the card and the price, of the card. You can get into thermals and noise and all that sort of stuff, but I've used blower cards, fan cards. I don't know. I think the noise, not really a big issue for me either way. So really price and just sort of the look of the card is kind of what, oh sorry, here's the back of the box. So looks like we do got some RGB. We'll see that when we get it installed. And then just your normal, thanks for buying stuff from us. Cool, how to upgrade a PC. Yep, there's the installation instructions. And then other stuff that you can buy from MSI.
There it is. Pretty nice card. Solid black backplate. Two display port, actually 3 display port and an HDMI, looks like. Just fine, I use display port. Just a nice looking graphics card. Alright, so like I said, got the cables mostly done here outside of the graphics card cable. Not sure how I'm going to run that yet, but you got your fans, got our power connectors all hooked up. You guys can see I do have a SATA cable down here. That's because I do have an old just mechanical hard drive that I have, so I'm going to go ahead and put it in here just as sort of some internal backup, just your standard Western Digital hard drive. So that's what I'm going to be using that for. That's why you see the cable there. But we are just going to go ahead and get this installed. Alright, so there it is, graphics cards installed, cables are connected, everything should be good to go. I'm going to go ahead and close this thing up, plug in the power, and just make sure that it actually turns on and everything looks like it's working. And then we will go ahead with the benchmarks. Alright, so we got everything put back together. So I'm going to go ahead and just flip the switch. There you can go, motherboard's lighting up. And then we will just hit the power switch, make sure everything works. Got all of our fans going. Got the MSI. There it is. She's working. The CPU fan is not lit up. I'm hoping maybe I can just go into the ASRock Polychrome and get that set up. I'm not sure. We'll see if maybe I jack something up. But the fan works. That's the big thing. So that's the build, guys. Again, I'm going to throw some benchmarks up here so you can see them. See ya. Alright, so we're about to jump into this first benchmark. We're just going to run through a Cinebench score here, or Cinebench benchmark, just so you can kind of see sort of how the CPU, performs on its own before we jump into the games. And as you can see, I had ran this test once before on my own. And the scores, I know this picture's a little bit, it's not that easiest to see. That first score was right around 7,277 or so. And so we're just running it this second time just for your guys' ability to see the way this computer is going to perform. And I think it performs pretty well. So I'm pretty happy with this. I have nothing really to compare it against as far as a Ryzen 9, but I think it's a pretty good score. Let me know in the comments below. But there you go, second run, and this time it's just a hair over 7,000, so a little bit lower, but that's fine. So now we're going to jump into this Guild Wars 2. Alright, so here's the Guild Wars 2, and I got MSI Afterburner running in the upper left corner there, you can see. And none of this is, going to be any kind of consistent gameplay or anything. It's just a character that I have, and I'm just going to run around for a little bit, and I
attack some monsters. So I might zip through this pretty quickly, but I just wanted you guys to see those scores. I was having an issue on MSI Afterburner with the fan speeds, so apologies for that. I didn't feel like running this benchmark a second time, so. Alright, so that was Guild Wars. Now we're jumping into some World War Z. Just running through the settings here. Yep, running through Vulcan. Just high. I mean, I don't play in Ultra or anything like that, so this is how I would normally play. So that was World War Z. Yep, 130 is pretty good. So now we're going to jump into some Borderlands 3. Go through, I know the patch for, I believe, DirectX 12 just came out, but I believe I'm running this on DirectX 11. Again, high, that's how I play. I'm talking about graphics, not doing drugs. Don't do drugs, kids. But here we go, let's jump into this benchmark.
so that was Borderlands 3. Let's go in here and check out what it had to say. There it is. And now we're going to jump lastly into Call of Duty. And for God's sake, don't judge me on my ability to play Call of Duty. I'm terrible. But I just wanted to give you guys a sense of, you know, just some first-person shooter. So that's what we're doing here. Alright guys, so that's the build. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments down below what you guys thought of it, what I could do better. I'm trying to make these videos a little bit better for you guys. I know it's a slow, painful process, but I'm trying to get better. So there it is. Let me know. Peace.